Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into the mind of a philosopher whose ideas echo through centuries. We're talking about Nagarjuna.
A truly pivotal figure in Buddhist thought and really in philosophy overall.
Absolutely. And you've given us some fantastic sources today. Our goal, as always, is to dig into these, find those key insights for you. We want to help you connect the dots, maybe see reality in a slightly different way, perhaps even have one of those aha moments.
Especially with Nagarjuna, those moments are definitely possible. His perspective is quite radical.
It really is. Okay, so let's start with the man himself. Like a lot of figures from antiquity, there's a mix of history and legend, isn't there? What do we, actually know about Nagarjuna?
Well, that's always the challenge, separating the threads. But yeah, his life has this fascinating blend. What's clear, though, is his impact. It's profoundly real. We generally place him somewhere around the 2nd century CE, probably in southern India.
A time of real intellectual energy in India, right?
Oh, absolutely. A melting pot of ideas, different Buddhist schools, Hindu philosophies, materialists, a really vibrant, sometimes contentious scene. And into this steps Nagarjuna, who becomes celebrated as the founder of a major school of Mahayana Buddhism.
The Madhyamaka school.
Exactly, Madhyamaka, which means middle way. And it wasn't just another offshoot. It was a really deep reinterpretation of Buddhist ideas. It set a whole new course.
And his name itself, Nagarjuna, that connects to some of the legends, doesn't it?
It does. The traditional story is quite something. It says he was born under an Arjuna tree, hence part of the name. And later, he supposedly received profound hidden teachings directly from the Nagas.
The Nagas being mythical serpent beings.
That's right. Wise, powerful beings said to guard ancient knowledge, often deep underwater. Receiving teachings from them adds this layer of, profound, almost esoteric depth to his wisdom.
So it suggests his insights weren't just everyday knowledge.
Precisely. It speaks to the depth, maybe the hidden nature of the truth he was bringing forward.
But he wasn't just a figure of legend. He was a serious scholar, a writer.
Oh, absolutely prolific.
Yeah.
And rigorous. His most famous work, the Mula Madhyamaka Karika.
Which translates as fundamental verses on the middle way.
Correct. And it's not just a collection of sayings, it's a systematic, incredibly logical philosophical text. He uses this sophisticated dialectical method to examine and frankly dismantle the philosophical views of his time.
Clearing the ground for his own ideas.
Exactly. It's considered one of the most important philosophical texts ever written, not just within Buddhism. Which brings us to the core question, really.
What did he actually teach? What were these groundbreaking ideas?
Let's get into it.
Okay, the central concept everyone associates with Nagarjuna is śūnyatā, emptiness. And that word, it causes a lot of confusion, doesn't it? It sounds like nothingness.
It really does. And that's probably the biggest hurdle for people starting out. It's crucial for you to understand this isn't about nihilism, not about saying nothing exists.
So what does it mean?
Śūnyatā means empty of inherent existence. That's the key phrase. Empty of a fixed, independent, self-sufficient nature.
Inherent existence. Like something existing all by itself, unchanging, unrelated to anything else.
Precisely. Nagarjuna argued that nothing, absolutely nothing exists like that. If it did, it would have to be permanent, uncaused, completely independent. And he shows logically why that's impossible. Instead, he says everything arises and exists only in dependence. Dependence on causes, conditions, parts, relationships, even concepts.
That challenges our basic intuition, doesn't it? We tend to see things as solid, separate objects.
We really do. Even our sense of self. Nagarjuna would say that, too, lacks inherent existence.
And he connected this idea of emptiness directly back to the Buddhist teachings on pratityasamutpada.
Yes, dependent origination. You could say a dependent origination is the reason things are empty. It's the mechanism.
How does that work?
Well, dependent origination states that nothing arises on its own. Everything comes into being based on preceding causes and conditions. It's all interconnected.
Like that wave example you sometimes hear.
That's a great analogy. Does a wave have an inherent waveness? No. It depends entirely on the water, the wind, gravity, the shape of the seabed. Take away any of those conditions and the wave isn't there.
There's no independent wave separate from its conditions.
Exactly. And Nagarjuna applies this logic relentlessly to everything. A table, a thought, a person, all dependently arisen, therefore empty of inherent existence.
So he's using dependent origination to show that what we see as solid things are actually dynamic processes, part of this vast interconnected web.
perfectly put. It's not a static collection of objects, but a constant flow. Interdependence is the nature of reality.
Okay, so if reality is this fluid, interdependent process, how do we navigate it? This brings us to his middle way. What's he steering between?
Right, the Madhyamaka, the middle way.
Yeah.
He saw two main philosophical pitfalls, two extremes people tend to fall into.
Which one?
On one side, you have eternalism, the belief that things have a real, permanent, inherent essence, that things or souls or substances truly exist in their solid, unchanging way.
Which can lead to thinking things are fixed, predetermined.
Yes, potentially limiting change or freedom. And on the other extreme, you have nihilism.
The idea that nothing exists at all, that it's all just void, meaningless.
Exactly. Denying any kind of reality or value, this can lead to, ethical indifference or despair.
So the middle way avoids both.
It does. It affirms conventional reality. Things appear, they function, causes have effects, but denies that these things have ultimate inherent existence. So reality isn't permanently fixed, but it's also not nothing. It's dynamic, relational, conventionally real, but ultimately empty.
It's seeing things as they function, without adding that layer of imagined solidity.
Precisely. And to help us understand this complex view, he introduced a really useful framework, the Two Truths doctrine. This is really helpful for you to grasp how these ideas work together.
Two truths. Okay, what are they?
He talked about two levels, or perhaps two perspectives, on the same reality. First, there's conventional truth, sambhati satya.
That's our everyday reality. Chairs, tables, cause and effect.
Exactly. The world as we normally perceive and interact with it. Our identities, the rules of society, science, all operate on this conventional level. And it's valid. It's necessary for living. Nagarjuna never denied conventional truth.
Okay, so what's the second truth?
That's the ultimate truth. Paramartha Satya. This is the deeper insight that all those conventionally real things, the chairs, the tables, ourselves, are empty of inherent existence. It's the understanding of śūnyatā and interdependence.
Ah, so they work together.
Absolutely. They're not contradictory. They're inseparable. You need the conventional to function, but understanding the ultimate truth, emptiness, stops you from clinging rigidly to the conventional as if it were absolute and inherently real.
It prevents that solidification we talked about.
Yes. It allows you to engage with the world effectively, but without the attachment and suffering that comes from grasping onto things as permanent and independent. You see the mirage, know it looks like water, but you don't mistake it for real inherent water.
That makes sense. So this understanding of emptiness, this ultimate truth, what does it actually do for us? What's the practical point?
That's the crucial question. It's not just philosophy for philosophy's sake. The whole point really is liberation. Liberation from suffering.
How does knowing things are empty lead to that?
Well, think about where our suffering often comes from. It's usually rooted in attachment, aversion, and ignorance, right? We cling to things we like, push away things we don't, all based on a mistaken view that these things and ourself have a solid, independent reality.
We grasp onto them.
Exactly. We grasp because we perceive them as inherently desirable, inherently threatening, or inherently me or mine. But if you realize deeply that phenomena lack this inherent existence, what is there to grasp onto?
The basis for clinging starts to dissolve.
Precisely. The attachment loses its foundation. The ignorance, the mistaken belief in inherent existence is seen through. And when attachment and ignorance fade, suffering diminishes.
So it's a cognitive shift that has profound emotional consequences.
Absolutely. It leads to wisdom, seeing things as they truly are. And interestingly, it also naturally leads to compassion.
How does compassion connect to emptiness? That seems counterintuitive to some.
Because if you see that the self-other distinction isn't ultimately real, that we are all interconnected and dependently arisen, then the suffering of others isn't fundamentally separate from your suffering.
Ah, the boundaries break down.
Yes, emptiness reveals our deep interconnectedness. So insight into emptiness doesn't lead to cold detachment. It leads to a warm, unbiased compassion for all beings caught in the same web of dependent arising and suffering. Wisdom and compassion become like two wings of a bird.
So far from being bleak, emptiness actually opens the door to connection and empathy.
Exactly right. It reveals the openness, the potential, the dynamism of reality, rather than a fixed, dead world.
And Nagarjuna was quite critical of how our own minds get in the way of seeing this, wasn't he? Our concepts.
Oh, very much so. He saw how we tend to take our concepts, ideas about table, chair, me, you, good, bad, and treat them as if they perfectly capture some inherent reality. We reify them, make them solid in our minds.
We mistake the map for the territory.
A perfect way to put it. He argued that this conceptual grasping, this clinging to rigid categories, is what creates the illusion of inherent existence and blinds us to the fluid, interdependent truth. It's the concepts that build the prison walls of suffering.
Wow. It's just amazing how relevant this feels centuries later. How did his ideas spread so widely, and why do they still resonate so strongly today?
Well, their logical power and spiritual depth were undeniable. Madhyamaka philosophy became hugely influential across Asia. It's foundational for Tibetan Buddhism, influenced Chan and Zen in East Asia. Its impact is vast.
And today?
I think in our world, which often feels so fragmented, so polarized with such rigid identities and us versus them thinking, Nagarjuna's message is incredibly potent.
That reminder of interdependence.
Yes, and the critique of clinging to fixed views. His insights challenge all of us, to question our assumptions about inherent separateness, to see how our ideas about ourselves, others, even nations or ideologies are constructed and interdependent, not absolute truths.
It encourages a kind of intellectual humility, maybe, and more empathy.
Definitely. If you truly take on board that reality is fluid and relational, it becomes harder to hold on to rigid dogmatism. It encourages openness, flexibility, and a deeper understanding that harming others, or the environment, is ultimately harming the whole interconnected system, including ourselves.
It's a powerful call to look beyond those surface distinctions we make.
A very powerful call.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into Nagarjuna really mean for you, our listener? He wasn't just talking abstract theory. He showed us that reality is deeper, more interconnected, more open than we usually assume, and that real freedom, wisdom, compassion, it starts with seeing through the illusion of inherent existence.
Which leaves us with a question for you to think about. Consider some area in your life where you feel stuck or where there's conflict, maybe based on a really fixed idea you have about yourself, someone else, a situation. Now, how might Nagarjuna's perspective, this understanding of emptiness and interdependence, allow you to see that situation differently? Could seeing its fluid, relational nature, its lack of inherent solidity, help you approach it with more openness, less grasping, and maybe more compassion?
Something to definitely ponder. We hope this exploration of Nagarjuna has given you some fresh perspectives and maybe even shifted how you view the world, just a little.